Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's live. Happy New Year. I know I wasn't here last week. It is so good to be with you all again this week. Today's AMA live stream is going to be a good one. We've obviously got Mochaverse phase 2 happening. We've got the Play-to-Airdrop. Luke's going to talk a bit about tokenomics. There's so much fun stuff in store for today. So if you have any questions, make sure you're asking them through the live chat on YouTube itself. If you're in game, head to the theater. There is an energy booster in there. And I will just say we updated the energy boosting system or whatnot so that the entire theater is now covered. You will get the same amount of energy no matter where you're standing in the theater. So go stand on the sides. I know you guys love to do that. And yeah, let's bring up Luke.
Hey everybody, yeah, exciting AMA today. So yeah, we'll answer some questions like we normally do. Today we'll also go over high-level tokenomics. Just a preface before we go over tokenomics, a couple things we will not talk about is the exact split of the tokens. Again, if Pixel is going to list and where it's going to list, we won't talk about that. We won't talk about like price or valuation or anything like that. Really what we want to get into is like the nitty-gritty of what we're doing at Pixels, why we are excited about the launch of the Pixel token and what that means for Pixels. And then maybe go a bit into how the distribution of Pixel is going to work too, because that's some really exciting stuff. We kind of talked about it a bit before. If you've been following these AMAs, none of this is really new, but we also kind of want to dive into like why we think Web3 gaming is interesting, kind of the nitty gritty of what we think, you know, play to earn or play to own or however you want to call it looks like in the future, and how our tokenomics kind of reflect that. And yeah, it'll just kind of be like a talk today. I wish I had some visuals to give you guys. Sometimes I like to bring out a whiteboard, so maybe we'll do that in a future AMA, where I like start to draw stuff out. I love getting like into the details of all of this kind of stuff. So some of the things we might talk about might get like a little technical. Not too technical, but yeah, just note that. So then we'll also keep it light. We'll talk a little about the Play-to-Airdrop, how that's going. We're really excited about the progress so far and everything with that. And we'll also dive into questions, obviously. It's also been great. We've been able to get to do like a few more Twitter spaces. When's the next one, Heidi, with Unfungible?
Right. So we're doing a Twitter Space series with Unfungible for 6 weeks every Tuesday at 11. Sorry, it's not even my eye. It's driving me nuts. At 11 a.m. Pacific, which is 1 hour before this time right now. So whatever your time zone is, 1 hour before our regular AMA times on Tuesdays. So yesterday. I'm really excited. And you know what, guys? We totally blew all the records of all of the spaces that Unfungible has been doing in the past. They are such an incredible company to work with, and I feel blessed to be working with them, but we destroyed their charts, all of the data. So congratulations to all of you guys. Yesterday felt really special. It's always really fun when it's just like Luke and I just like talking about, you know, our story. And when I say our story, I don't mean us, I mean all of us, everyone here. So it was just really lovely. And yeah, Kermit's already getting DMs. People think he's on the Pixels team, asking for things, which I found really funny. Yeah, he's
probably asking
wonderful.
for energy right now.
I digress. Every Tuesday at 11 Pacific, we have a new Pixels calendar. The previous one was like a Google Calendar. It was not working for us, so we have a new one in game. So if you click on the little schedule in Terravilla Central, all of the events, all the information you will need to know is always going to be accessible right there. Obviously, we also have Discord events. I always set up Discord events and set reminders and everything, but pay attention to the in-game calendar as your source of truth for all of those sorts of things. And before Luke dives into the tokenomics, I actually want to talk about, we just launched a new integration, the Plague, you know, the frogs, the Plague of Frogs.
Yeah, I want one so bad.
I'm so excited. So I just wanted to announce that because that's like something really fun. And I'm wearing Axie merch. So here we go.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I got my Axie merch last week also. I'm still waiting on my Pixels merch. But
okay. Logistics.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that
privately.
So yeah, it seems like, yeah, we'll get the energy fixed ASAP if it's not working.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just refresh. So I think you just need to refresh. Oh, there's no energy. Tried through worlds. Okay. Let me debug. Luke, go.
So yeah, while Heidi is working on the energy for all of you guys, what we'll be talking about today is tokenomics. One, why I think it starts with one, like why we like Web3 and why we think it's interesting. There really is, that's like the core of everything. Like we wouldn't be in Web3 if we didn't really believe in it. And we wouldn't be so excited about the Pixel token launching if we didn't really believe that it's a game changer for games. So a little bit of background. If you guys aren't familiar with the gaming industry, it's actually not in the best spot right now. I'm talking about like casual games. I'm talking about like MMOs. I'm talking about all these other games outside of there. There's been a really big shift in how games acquire users in the last 3 years. A lot of that is due to new privacy laws and new privacy policies placed by things like smartphones, ad tracking, all that kind of stuff. Basically, the key point is that it's gotten a lot more expensive to acquire new users in Web 2 gaming. And yeah, it's quite difficult to actually get new users. And it's actually become much more expensive, which has actually made a lot of Web 2 game companies not viable anymore, which is a really interesting outcome. And what we believe is Web3 is actually this new paradigm that changes things. What we've seen at Pixels is we've been able to acquire all of our users on basically no marketing spend, which is highly unusual. Instead of spending millions and millions of dollars on user acquisition, which is probably what we would have needed to do if we were in Web 2, we've instead been able to grow organically and with incentive structures. And for us, that's really the core of our tokenomics. We want to see if we can expand upon what we're doing now in a more sustainable way, and in a way that lasts for years and years and years. Not something that just pops up really shortly, fizzles away, but really something that we want to have sustained in a long-standing way. So for us, what that means is like that's basically the core of our tokenomics. We want to figure out how to give rewards to users who are better in the game. We want to give rewards to users who are most likely to help the ecosystem grow and share the ecosystem with others. And then we also want to give rewards to people who are really active and loyal inside of the game. And that's a lot of the base that we've set over the last year and a half. And there's a lot more that we need to play on top of that. So for us, what that looks like is one, we want rewards to be integrated into gameplay, but we want to make it so that rewards are also sustainable. So what that means is we need a max cap of rewards on rewards that we can give out every single month, or we need at least like a much more predictable system to give out rewards. If you're playing the game right now, you can see that Varia is a very inflationary token, which means that we don't necessarily know how many rewards are going to be given out every single month. How we need to figure out rewards is we need to be very particular with like different variables that we set. Like we need to adjust crop growth times. We need to do like all this crazy complicated stuff to kind of dial in rewards. And instead, what we want to do is we want to work backwards. We want to say, hey, this is the amount of rewards that we have to give out every single month. And we want to pick the best users to give out these rewards. So that's why with the Pixel token, what we've set is it's a cap supply ecosystem fund that will distribute every single month. So basically, a large portion of the Pixel token is going to be set aside as ecosystem rewards. A large portion, almost all of the almost the majority of the Pixel token. But like basically most of the ecosystem funds are set aside in this pool called ecosystem rewards. And what this means is these are the rewards that will be distributed back to our users. The whole point of it is that we want to, again, reward good in-game behavior. We want to facilitate like the best possible user base. And how this pool will work is it will vest monthly over the course of something like 5 years. So basically, there's only going to be a certain amount of rewards that we're able to distribute every single month. And for us, what that means is if we only have a certain amount of rewards that we can distribute every single month, we need to be giving it and finding the best possible users. So there's a good amount of tie-in with things like our reputation system that we'll be working in, things like the VIP system, things like land ownership, all of this kind of stuff. The core tech that we're actually building out at Pixels is almost, it's the play to earn side of things. It's the reward distribution, but it's also a user identification system as well. For us, the core tech here in like the play to earn space or the Web3 gaming space is figuring out who your users are, figuring out who the best ones are, and working backwards to make sure that those are the ones that get rewards. It's really nuanced. It's pretty difficult to pull off, but that's the stuff that we're super excited about. It's super hard tech. It's super interesting stuff. And that's basically the key of it. So if you guys have been following us, you've seen some of the new systems that we'll be releasing in order to actually distribute the rewards. So one part of reward distribution in tokenomics is one, user identification. So our base reputation system is like our starting point for this, right? We'll probably start to build out the reputation system to be even more nuanced. And we'll start to go into that in more depth as well. We also want to start doing things like combining more like external data, so things like connecting a Steam account if you want, but it's going to be all optional. And we're also really excited to work with people like YGG, potentially other people in the ecosystem like Forge. There's some really cool stuff there that we can dig into when we start to like dig into the user identification problem. So then 2 is the actual reward distribution mechanisms. So what we have right now planned is basically 2 main ways or 2 main UXs that you'll be able to earn Pixel. One is through the Taskboard, which we've talked about a lot. And if I can pull up, let me see if I can pull up a picture of the Taskboard again, if you guys forgot what that looks like. Because the Taskboard is really interesting. It's basically a way for us to combine in-game play and resource generation with this new like system that we're building out called the Taskboard. I'm going to pull up this Taskboard right now. Let me see if I can find it quickly. But basically, it's like a way that we can give out different types of rewards for different types of like resources gathered in game. Let me pull it up. If somebody has that link, Heidi, I know you're doing the energy stuff right now. That would be helpful. I think people have been sharing it a lot recently. Here we go, the Taskboard. I got it. Let me see if I can bring this up without sharing the whole white paper.
I'm muted. Sorry. I'll just be totally transparent with you guys about what's going on with energy. We updated it and like configured it for several reasons. But it meant that I had to click on the entity to make it start. It only worked in one world. So I currently have all of the internal team members going through all of like 100 worlds, clicking on them. So I apologize, and we are working on it.
That's hilarious.
Like, anyways, it is what it is. We're working on it. We will have an extended energy party. I'm sorry, Luke, go for it.
Yeah. So I was pulling up the Taskboard. I didn't want to share the whole white paper, but here I got it now. So yeah, here's what the Taskboard looks like if you don't remember. Basically, it's a way for us to distribute new tasks. So things like if you go and collect, sorry, this is a very low res screenshot. If you go and collect like 10 fish, for example, or like 10 pop berries, you will randomly get all of these different tasks assigned. These tasks are per person, so not everybody gets the same tasks. And it's a way for us to randomly distribute tasks based on what we see in the economy too. It's like the self-balancing algorithmic new system for us to basically give out tasks and give out rewards of pixel in exchange for resources returned to us. So yeah, if we see like too many pop berries being generated for some reason, that's a way for us to distribute new pixel tasks. If we see like a bit of misbalance somewhere else too, I love the system. I'm really excited for this one to get out. And there's some interesting stuff that we can do inside of the system too. Like for example, we can define, hey, we only want to give out like 10,000 pixel this month. We'll randomly distribute it through the Taskboard. And what we can even do is we can get more nuanced. We can do things like we can give out more pixel tasks to users with higher reputation, more pixel tasks, kind of a tongue twister, to users with land. We can give out more pixel tasks to users with VIP, so on and so on and so on. And that's kind of going to be some of our core tech. Like what we want to be doing is we're going to give Taskboard tasks that reward pixel to our best users and to our users who are most likely to help the ecosystem grow, which are kind of those personas. So in the short run, what we're doing is we're actually starting with, and maybe it's cool to type this actually. I'll make this a bit bigger. So short run.
Luke's whiteboarding, guys.
Yeah, we have 4 personas that we're
okay.
thinking about right now. We have the free-to-play users, we have VIPs, we have landowners, and we have sharers, or influencers, whatever you want to call them. Like those are basically the 4 people who we're starting with. And the interesting thing is, like, as we get more and more like better at targeting all these people who we want to be distributing rewards to, that's the fun part. So within this free-to-play user, there's different types of free-to-play users, right? There's free-to-play users who love questing, who love getting through content. That's great. There's free-to-play users who love things like getting through, or who like farming, who just like the social, or who like getting resources, like competing with the economics. There's free-to-play users who love like the social side of things. There's free-to-play users who like to make new content, who like to make UGC, things like that. And we'll start to get more and more nuance with its reward distribution in the long run as well too. Like this identification of like the user personas and the distribution to different user personas is probably going to be the most valuable tech that we build out over the next year. So we're starting high level. We'll basically have like 4 different personas that we're thinking about. And these are the kinds of players who we're going to start targeting more. You're already seeing us run some experiments on this user persona stuff secretly during the Play-to-Airdrop. This Play-to-Airdrop campaign that we're doing, there's a couple goals to it, right? What we want to do is we want to reward loyal users, pixel token before we launch it. But what we also want to do is test some of our assumptions around pixel distribution and growth. So that's a really important thing too. That's partly why we're doing things like adding in like the VIP or the reputation multiplier. That's why we're adding in things like some of the other like badges. That's why we're like experimenting with like the splits between referrals. And that's kind of like some of the core tech that we're building out too. It's like, how much should each persona be getting when it comes to reward distribution? How should we split this up amongst users? For us, what the key goal is we really do have the ecosystem's best interest in mind when we're thinking about reward distribution. What we want is we want the ecosystem to thrive. We want it to be healthy. We want it to grow. We want people to be playing the game. We want people to be having fun. And to achieve that, we have to be experimenting and iterating a lot with some of this stuff. But this is the really exciting stuff. And to me, this is like the core part of Web3 gaming that hasn't really been touched yet. It's drilling down into user personas. It's identifying who are the best users to reward. And it's the nuance and the deep tech around this kind of stuff. So we'll combine this with a few different things. And yeah, we'll start to drill down into that even more. So excited to dig into that. And if there's more questions on that, that's great. So that's one side, right? Like we talked about distribution. There's 2 sides of tokenomics, right? There's also demand, and there's in-game uses. And let me just pull up my cheat sheet. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that we have ready for the release of the Pixel token before we go live with it. Really excited about the next stages of that. We have some stuff that will be live on launch, and we'll also start to release more and more token utility, in the months after the Pixel release as well. We have a bunch of stuff ready. We have a bunch of stuff that's planned after token release, and we're very excited about all of that. So expect like a gradual rollout of more features. We tweeted today something. I tweeted something along the lines of like Pixels is one giant experiment, and we don't necessarily know it's going to work or not. But part of the fun part about playing Pixels is you actually get to be a part of that experiment, an active participant, and you get to give us feedback on what's working and what's not working, right? We're very excited to be building this with you. And the next stages really involve some iteration around what's going to be, the best use of the Pixel token in game. But some of the stuff that we have ready is super exciting. The thing that I'm most excited about is the guilds functionality, and that should be ready at just about the release of the Pixel token, if not like maybe a week or 2 after, very very shortly after. And yeah, let's go into that. So guilds will be one of the first immediate uses of the pixel token. If you guys haven't checked out what guilds are really, really cool. We've been talking about them a lot. We have gone into depth on them a lot. We'll probably do like a whole AMA just centered around guilds in like the next 1 or 2 AMAs, because it's one of the things I'm most excited about. And I really do think it'll drive a lot of pixel utility and a lot of pixel FOMO early on. So I'm super excited to get that one out for that reason. Guilds, if you aren't following along, if you're new to Pixels, it's basically going to be our rendition of Friend Tech. It's Pixels introducing SocialFi into the core loops of Pixels, and Guilds will actually play like a pretty large part into Chapter 2 of Pixels, basically an overhaul of gameplay and an overhaul of economic systems inside of Pixels. So yeah, we'll dive into that one a bit more. How are we doing on energy, Heidi?
I just want to say you guys are not being very kind. Okay. Be nice to me. I'm trying. Okay, so it's just not working. Energy is not being given out. I'm sorry. We're debugging. I've been pinging our devs like crazy. We're working on it. I'm sorry. Be nice to me. I will try and make this right. If that means maybe we do a energy party tomorrow, because I know it gets really late for a lot of you guys. Pay attention to Discord. I'll post there.
Yeah, so it is hilarious. People, you guys care, you're passionate. I know the energy in this specific like AMA is probably like the most important. You guys need it, right, for the Play-to-Airdrop. So I understand the passion. I understand why you guys want this so badly right now. So yeah, this is an unfortunate time for this to happen. But
someone called it diet popcorn, and I laughed so hard.
Yeah, if you guys haven't been following, whenever there's an issue with things like this, we make it up. I promise. Yeah, you guys are going to still get your energy. It might be like an hour or two later.
I'm sorry. Okay, we're working on it. And like I said, I know it gets really, really late for some of you to do it later in the afternoon. So if we don't get this resolved in the next like 30 minutes, we'll do the energy tomorrow.
It's coming though. Okay, so yeah, we'll get back to tokenomics now. I just had to adjust. I was seeing so many comments, I couldn't focus. I need to hide the comments, honestly. Yeah, they're gone. I can't see them anymore.
Is that possible? Oh yeah, you just click on the other one.
I didn't know you could do that until right now, but I'm doing that way more in the future.
Do it.
Okay, so yeah, let's get back to the tokenomics. So we went over the distribution, right? Like a lot of it is like we have these in-game mechanisms to distribute the token. The Taskboard is one I'm most excited about. There's also a second one too, the rewards dashboard. You guys might see it. There's things like daily login badges. That's how we can also incentivize things like social sharing. We can also run some like side quests or like some leaderboards like we're doing with the Play-to-Airdrop too for people who want to be doing things like that. But the whole point is basically we have a set amount of the token that we can give out every single month, and it's the job of like us to figure out how to distribute it best. And for us, again, it's like figuring out who the best users are. For us, it's going to be a lot of tie into reputation in the short run. And as we get better and better at this reputation system and other profiling through things that are just in game mostly, but then also maybe some external stuff, we will start to focus on like even more personas as well. And the better that we get at this, the better that the pixel token will be helping the ecosystem grow. So we're really excited about that. So then we get to the demand, right? In order for the token ecosystem work actually too, like what we kind of want is we want to balance, as much reward distribution as we have with, as much in-game use as we can. They don't necessarily need to be completely even. What's interesting is like, I think there is a misconception sometimes that rewards distributed needs to be completely balanced with rewards burned. That's not always necessarily the case, and there's a few reasons for that. Can dig into that sometime later. But yeah, there's also sometimes benefits to ecosystem growth that aren't necessarily balanced with like one-to-one with reward or with like token burning or all of that too. There's some cool stuff with like the token burn or the token demand that we'll get into too. I don't want to announce it quite yet, but we have some great community use cases, and some great like community news around like what happens when the tokens getting spent, things like that too. So no formal announcement on this kind of stuff, but yeah, maybe people can piece some of the hints as we're getting into that side of things. And yeah, when we think about the token in like the first 3 months, what we're really thinking about is how can we make sure that this token has like great in-game use and great in-game utility. So again, first thing that we're going to be launching is guilds. It's this new SocialFi feature. Essentially how it works, it's like friend tech, but for guilds. And these guilds are actually going to be very incorporated into pixels. Second thing that we have that we can always launch is we'll start to do more pets mints. So pets will be minted in the pixel token. What we kind of plan around doing these are like monthly open editions of new types of pets. So if you guys have seen, we've launched, I guess, like 2 or 3 types of pets now. We launched like the dinos. Those were our Genesis pets. We launched like gecko pets with CoinGecko. That was really cool, right? We have some like Mocha exclusive pets. And now we're going to start to expand into that more. Like we kind of want everybody to have a pet. We think it's a cool thing, right? And it's like a great part of the gameplay as well. So we'll start to expand on that as we develop more and more into pixels. So if you guys haven't been following, the general timeline on our end is basically chapter 2 is going to focus a lot around like reworking some economic systems, introducing things like the Taskboard, introducing a new feature that we're calling like dungeons and caverns. It won't be like combat. It won't be like necessarily all that kind of stuff. But then what we're focused on after that is focusing on like pet gameplay, which will probably be combat centric. So the roadmap around pets is really exciting. They'll become an even larger part of gameplay after chapter 2 and then chapter 3. And that's gonna be a core part of it as well too. And the other stuff that we have planned is some cool stuff too. Like we have a bunch of other stuff that people have been asking for so long. Like you'll be able to buy quality of life improvements. So things like more bookmarks, extra backpack space, all of that kind of stuff. And then what we're leaning to too is probably, this is a big one, we'll most likely let you purchase VIP and Pixel as well. So that's a really big change, right? Like one of the currencies that you earn in game will also be able to be bought with that currency, VIP. So VIP in chapter 2 will start to operate slightly differently. What we like to view VIP as is it's a battle pass. Right now, how the VIP works is like it'll give you more energy, and that's great. It'll still do the same thing in chapter 2, but VIP will also, instead of just giving more energy, because right now VIP is kind of focused around berry, right? As we move attention to pixel, how does that relate? Because energy won't directly help you get more pixel, right? Like you'll still need energy to get the resources to turn in tasks on the task board. That will hopefully get you pixel, but the real thing, right, is more tasks on the task board. So that's kind of the focus on VIP. You don't get more pixel just for having VIP, but you get more chances to earn it. And same thing with land ownership too. Land ownership will act in like a pretty similar way as VIP, where you don't get more pixel just for owning land, but you get more opportunities to earn it. That's exactly what the battle pass model looks like. If you ever play Call of Duty or Fortnite, things like that, Clash of Clans is a really good battle pass example. In Clash of Clans, you buy a battle pass. You don't get gold directly for buying the battle pass, but you get more quests to earn gold. And we love that method. We think it aligns interest really well. And yeah, we're really excited about the possibilities of what that looks like. So yeah, that's like, if I have to give like the simplest explanation of the tokenomics, it's really those two things, right? It's reward distribution, thinking about how you distribute your rewards, and then it's gameplay. So maybe demand wasn't the right thing, but it's gameplay. So it's distribution and it's gameplay. Like what is Pixel being used for in game? And I will make some notes too. So gameplay. Pixel's gameplay, I think we're in a spot where I can say like the gameplay is good. I feel pretty confident in saying that. what we want to get to over the next year, 2 years, is getting the gameplay in a spot that people, unequivocally, without the Web3 components, say it's great to amazing. And some people already say that that's great. Now, the next steps I want us to get to is really upping the quality and the vision of what we're building here. The team's been doing an amazing job. I can't compliment the team enough on what we've done to get here. And now is the time to start to level up all of these systems, all the gameplay, the polish, things like that too. We're a scrappy team on very low budget, and I'm really excited to start to see what we can do in these next stages. So that means getting like a bit more help. That means getting a few more artists, things like that on the team, just to like get all these like gameplay features that we've wanted to out for a long time. So yeah, in 2024, the focus is on gameplay, making sure the game gets better and better. And it'll be a lot of iteration too. I still want us to keep the same mindset that we have now. And I really want us to keep the same mindset of iteration, because I think that's super important. So somebody flagged on Twitter the other day, or I think today, that they really liked our build process. Here's their words, because I think they described our build process really well. That's why I think your guys' dev cycle is ingenious. Their words, not mine. They introduce a concept that's halfway done, tweak it from the data, and then complete it. I love it. But that is kind of the key point. Like, yeah, we actually do tend to release features that are halfway done, and it's actually kind of intentional. And really, I've been wondering why games don't do this more. I think it really only works in the Web3 concept. I think that's why this build approach is interesting and why it's working for us. You guys are a part of the ecosystem. You guys are a part of the community. Like, you like what we're doing, and then you're also like partly owners in some aspects as well too, right? And you guys get to be a part of the build process with it, so we can release things a bit earlier, which is such a huge advantage in gaming and in finding what works in gaming. And that allows us to iterate so much quicker than actually figure out that we're building the right things. So we're going to keep this approach because I love it. It's so much more fun. And yeah, the things we release initially might not be polished, but what we're trying to do on the Pixels end of it is basically find more things to build, get them to that level of polish that is like, unarguably like great to amazing, and continue to build out game features as well too. So yeah, the high level roadmap, if you guys have been following along and listening, is generally chapter 2, which will be core economic changes, and then the introduction of something that we call like dungeons and caverns. That will introduce kind of economic PvP. Chapter 3 will be centered around pets. So that will be introducing things like combat, or at least like pet-centered gameplay, which we hope to make a bit more competitive. Finally, getting in more and more competitive elements. And then yeah, chapter 4 and 5, it's really up for the community to decide. We kind of want to start to lean more towards, not, I don't want to call it MMO progression, but like, we do want the game to feel a bit more like there's end game, like there's more things to do, more reasons to level up, things like that. So there's a lot of possibilities there. I know a lot of the user base that we have now has played games like RuneScape, Tibia, MapleStory, Ragnarok Online, and other like single player games like Stardew Valley. So we'll continue to take inspiration from all of those games as well. Have a Hotel is another one too. Yeah, there's a lot that we can do there. So yeah, I think now might be a good time to start to dive into some questions if we started some.
Yes. Okay. Update. Popcorn broken. I don't know why, not working, but the hearts do work. So we have gone through all of the worlds again and replaced the popcorn with a heart. Now the heart actually gives out way more energy than the popcorn does. So first of all, you're welcome. But you're gonna get just as much, if not more, energy than a regular AMA as an apology. So it's fixed. It's working. We're good. We're good. Anyways, questions. I haven't been looking at any of the questions, obviously, but we did pull aside a few from the very beginning, which are not related to what you're talking about now. So
Yeah. Well, here's one. When chapter 2. Yeah, so the general timeline of things is like we have some stuff that will be ready at the release of the token. And then we'll have some stuff that's rolling out slightly after too. So part of the fun is like not releasing everything at once, right? And kind of working with you guys too. We do want to get some of the core changes that come with chapter 2 out as soon as possible. So somebody asked earlier on Twitter to me, like, what are the areas of gameplay that we think that we need to address? Because yeah, I tweeted and like I'm pretty transparent about the fact that Pixels does have issues, and that's not a bad thing, right? But basically, I do want to note any threader, any Twitter influencer that says Pixels has all these issues, like we are much more aware of the issues that they point out than they are. So yeah, these are all things that we recognize. Like Pixels is not the perfect game right now. We don't have the perfect economics. We don't have the perfect gameplay. But we have stuff out, and that's a huge advantage over other games right now, is what I can say. And we were able to learn so many lessons from that. So yeah, the core things that we want to fix over the next year are end game, economics, and player progression. And chapter 2 fixes a lot of the base economics. We think it's something that we need out ASAP. So we're rushing to get it out basically either at TGE or shortly after TGE. We'll at least get out some of the early systems. And then chapter 2, we want to make it like one clean release, but I think it's actually going to be more advantageous to announce chapter 2 as like a work in progress as we release it. So basically we'll release like the first changes in chapter 2, we'll tweak, we'll balance with all of you guys, and then we'll also start to release the bigger parts of chapter 2 over the next like couple of months as well. Things like the caverns and dungeons, the economic PvP, more and more guild integration as well. So expect it to be a live release, a rolling release. And as we end chapter 2 and go into chapter 3, you'll start to see more stuff like that too. So yeah, chapter 2, maybe at TGE we'll get some of it, but then expect it to be coming out longer and longer.
Okay. There are a couple questions here that I've seen a few times. So someone's saying we're going to kind of hop all over the place. But referral points not working. Okay, so how the referral system works is obviously we don't want people just like botting the system and whatnot. So the user that you refer, I think they need to hit a certain number of reputation points before it's counted towards your referral. So they might not have yet.
Yeah, so that way basically you can't spam like 1,000 bots and get all these referral points. That's the big thing.
Yeah.
And also if you refer people, they have to actually play the game a little bit too. A referral isn't helpful to the ecosystem if that person doesn't play Pixels at all.
Yeah. Okay, this person was asking earlier, and I think it's just poorly translated. I'm pretty sure this is the same person that's been asking me this a lot. If you complete a quest and your friends sent you the items to be able to complete the quest, that's fine. You're still completing the quest. Okay? Okay, clear. All right. Let's see. What was another question I saw?
I think this is a really good question. So how can you avoid the stuff that happened to Axie? Since this is in Ronin as well, people might get scared to play because Pixels might become Axie too. So one, I just want to flag that Axie was the leader of the space, and they went into territory that nobody else had went into before. So it's really easy to point out mistakes that Axie made and criticize and have all this negative talk, but there's also, you need to have a recognition that like a lot of this stuff was very new at the time. Nobody knew it was going to happen, and they learned so many lessons along the way. Axie 2 or 3 years ago looks nothing like it now because that team has learned so many lessons. And that's kind of the benefit of being on Ronin, right? They also, because they've gone down that path and they've learned so many lessons, they get to share that with the games that they're building on top of Ronin. The amount of advice and the amount of guidance that we're getting from them cannot be understated. They have such an insanely smart team. I still, to this day, like will stand by the fact that I think they have the most talented Web3 game design team in the space just because they're the only team that had a Web3 game to design for a long time. They've gotten some of these skills and some of this experience that you just can't get any other way. It's funny because before we moved to Ronin, or like, not way before we moved to Ronin, like 2 years ago, when I was getting into the Web3 space, I criticized Axie myself. I thought, wow, they did so much wrong. We're going to do so much better. And then you start to get into this space and you start to like build, and you understand, you build some more empathy with like, oh, dang, this is the stuff that they were dealing with. And the reason that we moved to Ronin was not, it was half about user acquisition, but it was as much around this side of things. It was getting wisdom from people who have been there and done that, because these problems are so unique and the things that they've learned are super valuable to pass on to others. So yeah, that's part of what we're doing here. Like, we are not afraid to rip up pieces of the game that we see risk around or aren't working early and often. And chapter 2 is going to be bringing some pretty intense changes to the core gameplay now. We probably could have ridden this wave a lot longer, but right now, even us as a team, we see the current economics of the game as unsustainable. And that's an issue. There were ways that we could have maybe propped it up in the short term. And I can't dive into that too much. But yeah, that wasn't the route that we wanted to go. We wanted to make sure that we were doing everything the right way. And even that means like ripping off the Band-Aid and doing some things that are hard early on. Like, that's the route that we want to go. So yeah, chapter 2 is going to change things pretty drastically. And we're okay with that, even if that means like a bit of smaller or shorter term growth. So that might mean that we don't grow in the same that we did when we make these chapter 2 changes. But that's okay for us. What we want to do is we want to prove out the sustainability of the ecosystem. And the part that we're most interested in when it comes to like, Web3 and all of this kind of stuff is like this stuff that we talked about distribution. Like, to us, the smart targeted distribution of rewards is the difference maker in Web3 gaming, and the stuff that we want to start to experiment with and own, because that is tech that I don't see many other people building out. I don't see anybody building it out, actually. It's blue ocean. And I'm sure there's other Web3 game founders that are watching this, and like, maybe we all can help make the space better. But I truly believe this is the future of Web3 gaming, like this side of the things: smart targeted reward distribution to good user personas. And I don't see anybody else talking about it doing it. So this is the core tech that we're going to be building out. It's exciting because we get to be the first ones to like lead this part of it. And yeah, that's like part of what we're thinking there too. So yeah, I mean, Web3 gaming, it's right, you can really mess it up. And that scares us too. So we're trying to be on top of it and, ahead of the game with it too.
Okay, I have a question. If you're in a world and hearts are not flying everywhere, please make yourself known. I would like to know, but we have gone through all of them, but there's a lot of them. So just to be sure. Okay. Tons of more questions. Is there one that you actually, I just wanted to say about this one too. Okay, so the tweet badge is bugged. I'm not going to say it's not bugged. There is something a little finicky with it, but if you are experiencing issues with, you've retweeted the tweet and you've liked it and the badge is still not showing up, go and redo it. So unretweet, retweet, unlike, like, and that usually fixes the problem. Okay.
I'm starting. There's some good questions now, and it's not all one energy. That's great. I love it. Now I can actually read them.
Oh man.
Here's a good question. Are quests going to continue in chapter 2, or will all the quests like by Gary be discontinued? So we'll keep most of the content in the game in chapter 2. There might be like some different balance changes that we need to make. And then also like a large priority of chapter 2 is we're going to start creating more ongoing content too. I think I talked about this a little bit, but yeah, I want to start to get like a few more resources in the team. My ideal team formation would be kind of splitting the team into 2 teams. One team would be basically built around like innovation, new features. And then another team would be built around live ops and content. So basically creating more and more quests like this. What's great about our tech and engine is we have a great system for creating new content. Really, the blocker has just been like ideas. So getting more help around actually doing that and implementing it will be great. And then the chapter 2 changes should implement like a lot of new progression that will help make some of this content creation a bit easier too. Some of these chapter 2 changes that we're going to be introducing, they're just like common sense stuff that you're like, wow, yeah, it totally makes sense. I'm like glad they did that. So I'm excited to get those ones out.
Okay, do you want to choose another question? I just need to ping someone.
Yep. Oh yeah, so we got some questions about this and multi-accounts and bots basically. That's the key question too. So when we talk about user identification and like reward distribution, I think before all of this, let's break this down even more. So really there's two categories above these user personas. There's real users and there's bots. And before you can even start experimenting with some of the like play to earn mechanics, you need to have a better idea of who real users are and who bots are. And that's actually quite difficult. That's a lot of the core tech that we've been building out over the last year. We're not perfect at it, but I think we're actually probably one of the better teams at it in Web3. It's interesting because people don't talk about this in Web3 gaming because it doesn't always necessarily make them look good, right? But I will say, if you don't have a team talking about their bot prevention and detection, maybe assume that they're not doing it, and maybe assume that it's not a priority for them. And if that is the case, then their game is probably a lot of bots. This is a really hard problem. This is something that Pixel's team has actually put in tons of resources over the last year. We have a couple of different approaches to how we do bot prevention detection. I can't talk about the methods because bots, it's a game of cat and mouse sometimes. There also are like proactive methods we've been adding, things like the reputation system. That's put a really good dent into botting inside of the game. And we'll continue to like build that out more. That's part of the tech that we're building as well. And then two, we do like a lot of retroactive things as well too. So some of the bot detection that we do is basically like some data science. And yeah, somebody asked about that on the Play-to-Airdrop, what we're doing about bots in the Play-to-Airdrop. So yeah, basically how the Play-to-Airdrop will work is we're going to close it. And on the 18th, 19th, right? One of those dates, I think it might be 18th.
The 19th is Friday.
Yeah, it might be the 19th then that it closes. It was 2 weeks after it launched,
Yeah,
right? Whenever that is.
Friday to Friday. There's so much going on, guys.
Yeah, so it was 2 weeks after launch, right? It runs for 2 weeks. We're going to close it, and then we'll spend a week doing bot prevention or bot detection on that list, basically. So we've done some of the like prevention side of things, but then we'll also do a retroactive cleaning of the list too. So you actually might be just outside of top 7,000, and then actually still make it in because of the bot cleaning that we do if there are bots that have made it in. So yeah, we'll keep you guys up to date on what that looks like. Right now it's looking decent and pretty healthy. But yeah, whenever you do something like this, people are going to try to cheat it, right? And ignoring that is not the right solution. Acting like that doesn't happen is not the right solution because then that means that real players lose. So again, tokenomics, you can't do this user persona dive in if you can't even identify the difference between real users and bots, right? So yeah, that's some of the core tech that we've been building out and some of the stuff that we're most excited about.
Yeah, and we have a team member completely dedicated to bot detection. So like we take it very seriously. Okay, someone said popcorn machine is broken. Yes, there should be hearts. If there are not hearts in your world, please tell us what world you're in. Okay. Oh, do you want to talk about this one? You can do KYC before sending rewards.
Yeah, so KYC is potentially like the real solution to Web3 gaming, but actually I don't think it is. There's some people that want solutions like, you know, when we were on Polygon, there was Polygon ID, right? Where they think that like eventually ZK proofs can like help identify users across Web3, that it will be like semi-anonymous. But Yeah, getting somebody to upload an ID, do the KYC process, it's tough. It's too big of a barrier to friction. And yeah, I'm not super bullish on it. And it's really expensive. It's like it could be $10 sometimes just to do the KYC portion per user. Um, and it makes gaming not really work. So maybe eventually somebody in some ecosystem in Web3 will figure this out, a really nice, cheap way to do it that doesn't feel like it's invading privacy. Um, I don't know. I personally, I'm in Web3, I'm deep in it. I'm hesitant to like scam my eyeball for WorldCoin, right? Like, I'm not sure if I want to do that. So we want to avoid KYC for reasons like that. And the holy grail solution, right, is we can find a way to identify users without having them KYC. And that's kind of the stuff we've been working on. So things like a reputation system help. And there's more nuance that we can start to add to it as well. The team has been so focused on getting some of these changes out when it comes to Chapter 2, when it comes to like supporting the Pixel token launch and how we can use it in game. There's a lot for us to do in the short term. The team's going to get a little chance to breathe once we have this out. And we can start to develop systems like this a bit better, more specifically the reputation system and like some of this identification system where we might not have to KYC. And that's kind of the ideal end goal.
Okay, people keep saying that I said you would only have to participate for 30 minutes to get into the Play-to-Airdrop 2.0. I don't remember ever saying this. I would love a clip of me saying that, actually, if you guys can find it.
Yeah, people make up stories in their head sometimes. Like I see a quote,
but then they like go viral. So like everyone is quoted. Like
yeah.
I don't recall saying this. All I know is I've spent more than half an hour chopping trees.
Yeah, with the Play-to-Airdrop, though, somebody asked a question around this too. So this is relevant. I know you mentioned that you want the season 2 Play-to-Airdrop to be less grindy. Do you guys think you have succeeded in that goal? So what we want, it's funny because I threw out the question, right? And overwhelmingly, it seemed like community feedback was they wanted a chance. And some people wanted to grind. So I think what we're doing well at with this particular Play-to-Airdrop is creating systems for different types of people. And yeah, I think there's like a bunch of different people that feel like they have a chance right now. Like there's some people that are going really hard on referrals. Like the landowners don't necessarily get guaranteed the allocation, the season 2 Play-to-Airdrop. They get a huge advantage. So like that one's like relatively positive, but it's not unfair. And yeah, there's like different ways to get in by playing too. Like there's some people that just have a really high reputation score because they've done all the quests in game. They've like done everything that they need to, and they don't need to get into the top 100 on the leaderboards, and they might still get into the Play-to-Airdrop in general. And then there's some people that are a bit newer, and they're grinding the leaderboards. So it's interesting because we see so many different like thoughts on it, and I think that means that we're doing a decent job at balancing all these rewards. But yeah, if you guys have more feedback, this is kind of going to be like some of the stuff that we do in the running of pixel rewards too. So yeah, we don't want to make it this intense and every single week, but like we want to have systems like this pretty much every week, every month in the long run. For us, like I think the future of play to earn looks a lot different than it did before, where not everybody earns. And these play to airdrops are kind of like mini tests for us to see how we do pixel distribution in the long run, right? So it does need to feel fun. Like if you guys aren't having fun, then that's the biggest concern to me. If you guys are having fun doing this and you get like your chance here, that's the ideal situation.
Yeah, it goes back to personas like you've been talking about this whole time. We bring it up a lot. I think we've done a pretty good job at satisfying like most personas of Pixels players through this Play to Airdrop 2.0. Okay, only a few more minutes here. So Luke, are there any questions specifically that you're like, need to talk about that one?
Yeah, let's take a look. Yeah, good ending question. What have you been most excited for last year? And what are you looking forward to most this year? I mean, yeah, the most exciting thing last year obviously was the move to Ronin. I'm so glad we were able to get that together, and it's been great to like go on this journey with all the Ronin users and with like our old familiar faces as well. And yeah, for this next year, I'm super excited about like what a token can do for a game and experimenting with this reward distribution. Like I geek out on this kind of stuff. And it's interesting is like you used to see tokenomics, right? When we were talking like 2 years ago when there were other tokens releasing, like height about like bull run, like tokenomics always came across as so complicated, right? Like I have an economics degree. I couldn't follow half of them. Um, I have this take that it shouldn't be so complicated. Like really, that is our tokenomics there, really, and it's simple, right? Now it's simple on the top level, and when you start to dive into how to actually execute that, it gets more nuanced. But like the actual rules behind the tokenomics are very simple. You want to give rewards to good users who help grow the ecosystem, who are loyal, who like the game, who have fun. And then two, you want to make the best game possible that uses that token too. It's so simple. But yeah, executing is hard. And building a good product is hard. Building a game is hard too. So yeah, we wanted to go the hard way. We wanted to do the hard route the entire time because we thought that there was something really interesting for the people that pull that off. And we thought that's how you make Web3 gaming better. So yeah, that's what I'm excited about, to actually like get to execute all the stuff that we've been saying that we were going to have a token launch. That'll be very exciting for everybody, and to move on to this next stage with all of you guys too. So again, we can't appreciate the community enough. We're really excited to be building with all of you. Your feedback is super important because we wouldn't be able to build this without you, and we're not going to live without you guys either, right? If you guys don't like the game, if you guys don't like what we're doing, you'll all leave. So we want to make sure that we're building something you guys like. And it's great, the Web3 ethos, right? Where you guys get ownership, you guys get a say. We're trying to like live up to that as much as possible. So again, appreciate all of you guys here building with us. Any other closing thoughts, Heidi?
I mean, you said that all really well. I was just thinking back to yesterday. So like we mentioned at the beginning, we're doing a series of Twitter spaces with Unfungible for the next 6 weeks. Started yesterday. It was just Luke, I, and Kermit. And yeah, he asked us a lot of these questions like 2023, how did that go? And it was funny. My favorite was when he said, okay, if we did like a Spotify Wrapped for Pixels, what would it look like? And I was like, well, we did that. We have a whole Twitter post, right? So Luke saying like Ronin was like the biggest impactful thing of last year. Oh, it was. It was. But there were also so many different moments last year that were amazing. So I'm so excited to see like how it all plays out this year. What is our, Pixels Wrapped going to look like next year? And then obviously me talking from a community standpoint, it just continues to grow and blossom. And it's really cool seeing these micro communities pop up and guilds and all of these sorts of things. And we're all these partnerships. It's honestly really beautiful. And I'm really excited to just watch it continue. So yeah, thank you all so much. We appreciate all of you. Thank you for your patience. Although none of you were patient, I'm going to say thank you for your patience with the energy issue.
Yeah, this is not a patient crowd this time.
But anyways, I'll leave it for another like 15 minutes or so. The heart gives out way more energy than the popcorn. So you are still probably getting more if I leave it for another 15 minutes. And yeah, we'll see you next week. We'll see you on Tuesday for the Twitter space, and then we'll see you on Wednesday for our AMAs.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys. Oh, actually, go look out somewhere near you for the new puzzle piece. It's just been dropped. And go tweet this. Okay, cool. Bye, guys.